it's Stephanie with Yarn Ball Handmade Goods. Happy Monday. Today's video is a super fun one. I'm going to show you these 5 cozy cardigans that are super beginner friendly that you're not going to want to miss out on this fall. You're going to want to make these, wear them, you're going to be living in them. And the best part is that they're beginner friendly. So they're really easy to construct. There's no complicated shaping in any of them. They're all super cozy and super wearable for the fall. I'll go over the yarn that I use, what makes each one unique, and how they're all constructed and how simple the process really is. If you're new to making wearable items such as cardigans, I know it can seem a little bit intimidating if you've never made one before, but the process for these ones at least is actually really simple, and all these designs and patterns come out really beautiful. These are all ones that I've handmade myself, so I'm really excited to share them with you. Let's get into it. First, we're starting off with a 3-panel short sleeve cardigan. This one is really cozy, great for layering. It would look really cute with like a long sleeve turtleneck or more of a neutral color, since this one's a little more colorful. I actually made this one a while ago, and I did a pattern here of dark blue, more of a teal, green, and then like a maroon color here. So I basically alternated the colors. I think I also had like a little scrap gray yarn, so I threw that in there as well as like a little neutral hint throughout. The way that this one's constructed is very simple. So you're just going to do your striping. You could also just do it all one color if you want. I did use a size 4 worsted weight yarn for this specific one, because for me personally, when I'm making a nice cozy sweater, I want a thicker yarn because I want to feel like, you know, like it's really warm and cozy and I'm wrapped up in a blanket, and worsted weight yarn does that for me. So this is a size 4 medium worsted weight. It's just one back panel. So you basically just make this whole square, and then you make this panel for the front and then this panel for the other side. And then you basically just sew across the shoulders and then along the side as well to join them. For this specific one, if I did have to change one thing, I would say I wish that I alternated the color to match the specific yarn when I sewed, because you can see, it's hard to notice, but you can see throughout like little peaks of green coming through because I used green yarn to sew all the way. If I were to redo this one now, I would definitely alternate colors when I'm sewing so that it blends in better. But let me try this one on for you guys. So here's what this one looks like on. A really good layering piece. Good way to add a pop of color into an outfit. I wore a black dress since it's super neutral. But yeah, this one's really adorable for the fall, winter. It's definitely a little bit more casual. You could wear it over a dress still, or you could just throw it over a tank top with jeans, anything like that. Super versatile, really easy to construct. I didn't even do any sleeve extension here. I just made the 2 panels and then I just added the ribbing around the outside to kind of bring it all together. Okay, let's move on to cardigan number 2. This one is a hexagon cardigan, but it's made up a little bit differently than your typical granny cluster hexagon cardigan. Here's the cardigan itself. This cardigan is constructed of 2 hexagons. One hexagon makes up this half, and the other hexagon makes up this half. It basically makes the L shape for the arm and the torso portion. And then you sew both of them together up the back. You can see the seam right here up the back. And then you sew across the shoulder as well. Typically when you make a hexagon cardigan, the classic way is to do granny clusters. But this one, I actually did all double crochets. So you can see there's a couple clusters when I first started the hexagon, but then I just go right into all double crochets the whole way instead of the granny clusters throughout. I like the way that this looks because there's less gaps throughout the stitches, which is really nice for a cozy cardigan. This was a self-striping yarn. It was more of like a gradient. I wanted to add an extra pop of color to really have a good contrast in this specific cardigan. So I did some decreasing rounds on the sleeves to make them more tapered. And these were colors that I picked out on my own that I thought would complement the cooler tones. So I did a gray, a white, a mustard yellow, a light yellow, and a peach. And then we did that for the ribbing as well. We did that same color scheme. And I think it makes a really beautiful contrast. But again, size 4 worsted weight yarn for this one. It's definitely beginner friendly. For all of the ones I'm showing you today, I would recommend using anywhere from a 5 to a 6 millimeter crochet hook. You can, of course, use whatever size you want, but for me personally, just to make it a little more chunky and cozy for the fall winter seasons, I used probably a 5.5 to 6 millimeter hook for all of these. So let's go ahead and try this one on. So here's what this one looks like on. I don't have a ton of room behind me, so I'm working with what I got. I purposefully made it like a 3/4 length sleeve. Sometimes I will do that with my cardigans where I make them more of a 3/4 length. I just like the way that that looks. I made the ribbing on this one a little bit wider because I wanted to be able to fold this over and give it a nice little collar. Super beginner friendly, all double crochets, 2 hexagons sewn together. Very, very simple, but it also gives it more of a unique look with just the double crochets instead of the granny clusters, which is also beautiful. I love a classic granny cluster hexagon cardigan, don't get me wrong, but this is just a way to make one that's a little bit different. Okay, so the third cardigan that I have today, I believe I've shown on my channel before. This one specifically is very, very beginner friendly. It's very simple to make. It's just a 1-panel wrap. It's literally just one wide panel. So you can see here, this is the armhole. So basically these 2 corners were just straight like this, and then I folded them in and then sewed this small portion together, and that created this armhole. I love these 1-panel shawls because they're really customizable, really beginner friendly. You can make one with all single crochets, double crochets, treble crochets, any stitch pattern you want to create with this, you can. These are awesome gifts to make for friends, family, relatives during the holiday season because they're so simple and work up really quick. So for this one specifically, I did do a couple decreasing rounds, which you can see around the neckline and the collar area, just because I wanted it to sit a little bit more snug on my shoulders. So I used 3 different stitches for this. I did double crochets. There's single crochets tucked in there. And then we did double crochets with a chain 1 space, which I still count as double crochet. And then I did the little bobble stitches throughout. All the bobble stitch ones have this really beautiful pink sparkly yarn. Let me try it on for you. Okay, so here is the 1-panel wrap. It drapes so nicely, so elegantly. It's really cozy, really good for the fall, winter season. It's like you're just wrapped up in a blanket. You could put like a little button in the front if you wanted to keep it closed. It just lays so beautifully on the shoulders and the neckline as well. Cardigan number 4, I like making these for vendor events like markets and everything because they work up so quick and easy, but they look beautiful. They're very eye-catching. So you can see it's a big triangle. So where this tan beige section is, you start here and you work outward like that shape, and it makes a big triangle. But what I did with this one specifically was I wanted it to feel more like a cardigan than like a shawl that you wrap around. So after I made the big triangle, I took the ends and just sewed a little tiny portion of them together to create an armhole. And again, this one is very, very beginner friendly. It's just double crochets, granny clusters, and you just are increasing the entire way until it gets really wide enough for you to wrap it around. And then another thing that you can do just to give it an extra cute little touch is put little tassels on the ends. So I put one on each end of mine. And then I added a single crochet ribbing just around the outside of it. So let me go ahead and try this one on for you and show you what it looks like. So here's what this one winds up looking like on. So the granny stitches really look beautiful. This again was another like multicolored yarn that I used. And you can see it comes to that triangle in the back. And you can see here where we sewed this little spot that created the armholes. So that just kind of helps it stay on a little bit better, for me at least. And I did have a tie, but I don't know what happened to it, so I'm just going to demonstrate with a piece of yarn. So it looks really beautiful on the shoulders and the neckline. And see how tying it just makes it lay really, really nicely. And this is so customizable. You can make it obviously any color you want. You can use different types of stitches if you don't want to do granny clusters. So that's the granny cluster shawl. So this last piece that we have here is probably my favorite cardigan that I ever made, because I really, really love the color scheme. And I did a little something special to it to make it even more unique. It is a hexagon cardigan, a standard hexagon cardigan with granny clusters. However, I added 5 granny squares down the spine of it. So let me show you this one. So you can see the color scheme throughout. And then here is the back of it, which is my favorite part. Ah. When I was making this cardigan, I really wanted to go for a warm and cool toned cardigan and have it be more of like a gradient effect, like it fades from warm to cool. I think that concept really creates a beautiful contrast. And then I did a single crochet ribbing. So you can see here, it's just single crochets. And then again, I wanted it to be more gradient, going from dark to lighter colors. So we did green, orange, and yellow, and that goes all the way around. It goes along the bottom as well. It looks complicated having to add in the granny squares down the back, but to be honest, it's really very simple. You're just making your standard hexagon cardigan, so the 2 hexagons sewn together up the back and across the shoulders. And then you're just gonna make 5 granny squares. I basically just counted the stitches along the one side of the hexagon, and then I made sure that my granny squares equaled that same amount of stitches. It blends in nicely and it looks like all one unit. All you need to know how to do is double crochet and single crochet. That's all that it is, and it's just a few different elements sewn together. I also just did a couple decreasing rounds on the sleeve, and then we did a tapered double crochet cuff. If you make this for yourself, you're gonna want to live in it. Let me try it on. I mean, how beautiful does that look on? Here's the back of it. Again, I used a size 4 worsted weight yarn for this specific cardigan. And then yeah, it's just your standard hexagon cardigan with some single crochet ribbing and granny squares along the spine. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you found a cardigan or 5 that you're excited to make and wear this fall season. Let me know in the comments which one was your absolute favorite and which one do you think you personally want to make, or what are you making right now? I would love to know. Don't forget to like this video if it gave you some inspiration, and please subscribe for more beginner-friendly content, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on my next videos coming out. I upload every Monday and Thursday. I will see you guys next time. Bye!